Welcome to the Card Central post-game show brought to you by Home Bank on STL Sports Central. All content provided by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Grant Salzman, Stephen Carey. There are no silver linings in a season that the Cardinals won't make the postseason, but one of the positives is they win their final series at home against the tough Milwaukee Brewers today by a score of 5-1. This is a very complete baseball game for St. Louis. I would say the one thing that was lacking, didn't have a lot of hits. 5 runs off of 3 hits. They were out-hit by the Brewers, but Liberatore pitched extremely well. The offense found timely hitting. They scored relatively consistently throughout the game.
Yeah, I mean, hey, they're only 4 games out of a wild card spot here, Stefan. I mean, they could win out. You never know. No, I'm joking. But yeah, complete game. You only get the 3 hits. But this is kind of the type of baseball Cardinals fans were kind of yearning for all season. Yeah, you didn't play the best offensively, but you came out, you pitched cleanly, you took some walks. When you did get runners in scoring position, you drove them in. A Von Herrera home run, a couple other timely hits. That's the type of baseball the Cardinals didn't get all year, and it's nice to finally see it at the end.
I really like the classiness of the St. Louis fans, as to be expected. From the moment that Nolan Arenado walked off the field, potentially for the last time as a St. Louis Cardinal at Busch Stadium, it was great to see him getting a well-deserved round of applause.
Yeah, he deserved that for sure. And it might be a little premature to assume that he's going to be done, because I definitely don't think he could play another year in St. Louis. It's a tough situation, but if that is it, it's nice to give the future Hall of Famer that type of applause for sure.
He definitely deserved quite a bit. Quick reminder that the Card Central postgame show is brought to you by our business banking partners at Home Bank. From business lending to everyday banking, Home Bank has been with us since day one as a trusted partner. Business isn't just about numbers, it's about relationships. And with Home Bank, those relationships make all the difference. Home Bank is the team behind our team at STL Sports Central. Visit myhomebank.com or call 855-577-2001. Home Bank, member FDIC. More than a bank, they're your business partner. So Grant, 5-1 the score. The Cardinals, a pair of 2-run innings in the third and fourth. It was good to see the young guys getting out there and showcasing their skill sets. Von Herrera, of course, having a big 2-run home run. We'll talk about that a little later on the show. But one guy that I think has flown under the radar this year, we've talked so much about runway, we've talked about opportunities. Somebody who has made the most out of their opportunity with limited chances has been Jose Fermin.
Yeah, Jose Fermin is a guy that he's kind of gotten the short end of the stick over and over and over again, whether he's getting called up, then being sent back down, and vice versa over and over again. It seems like finally he gets his chance the last few weeks and been doing well. 3 RBI day, that double that drove in 2. I mean, he's a guy that if he's on the end of your bench, you're always going to feel confident. He's consistent. He gives you what you know he's going to get. 250, 260, he's consistently average, and that's what you want out of your end of bench guys. And every now and then he's going to play like this.
Right, and with 50 at-bats this season, he's hitting right at 300. So yeah, certainly he's done a nice job. And it hasn't just been little dink and dunk singles. Today, he just barely missed a big home run for the Cardinals, but came at a timely time for St. Louis to add on against the Brewers.
And that's what we talked about with that timely hitting that the Cardinals haven't had. I mean, that's been really the bane of this season so far for the Redbirds, is that it's just that one hit they can't get. And today they got it in 3 hits. Normally you'd see that Cardinals team spray a few singles over the yard and not score any runs. Today you get 5 out of it.
And the Brewers still yet to clinch the NL Central Division as champions. Of course, we did see the Cubs losing against the Reds. Not sure how that game turned out, but the race is getting extremely tight in the wild card. Mets lose today. D-backs are already up big against the Phillies. The Reds were leading against the Cubs. Should the Reds win today, they will be tied for that final wild card spot. Pretty incredible to think about.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, if you're a Cardinals fan, you're 4 out right now. You just have to be thinking, kicking yourselves for some of the losses the Cardinals have had in this last month, really in the second half, winnable games. For sure. And they found ways to lose a lot of winnable games. You think of that Brewers game, you think of that losing 4 to the Rockies, just some tough games. If they go your way, all of a sudden you're sitting 1 game out right now, possibly.
Yeah, certainly, especially the last few weeks, winnable opportunities. You look back even deeper into the season, getting swept by the Pirates, not taking care of business against the Rockies, getting swept by the D-backs right before the All-Star break, right out of the All-Star break. Those are all things that certainly I'm sure the Cardinals would like to have back. But again, you just want to see them playing good baseball, and they did that today. Final two series of the year will be against the Giants and at Wrigley Field. Again, no telling what's going to happen, but these are two teams that I'd like to see the Cardinals go out and playing well against.
Yeah, I mean, if you could find a way to go 4-2, even 3-3, you win a series, maybe you lose one, preferably win that last one against the Cubs. That would be nice, But I've seen no reason with the way they're playing right now why they can't go at least 3-3 in this stretch. And on somewhat of a high note, I think this win got them to 76-80. So you'd have to get really hot to go 500, but right around that 500 mark, I think would be overall a successful season.
And I asked Brendan Schaefer when we were on 365 a few days ago if the Cardinals were going to win a series the rest of the way. Well, they took care of business against the Brewers. And if I had to bet, and of course I don't, due to my involvement with baseball, I wouldn't have bet them to win 2 out of 3 against the Brewers. I would have certainly picked maybe the Giants or the Cubs because of how well the Brewers have played, not only against the Cardinals, but against everyone this season.
Yeah. Yeah, and this team has been one of the hottest teams in baseball, but it seems like with the Brewers, as October draws near in the last 4 or 5 years, they play worse. So it's interesting to see if the Brewers will limp their way into the playoffs or not. What is the NL Central right now? How many games ahead are they?
I'll have to take a look at those numbers, but it certainly is a pretty sizable lead. The Cubs are at 88 wins. The Brewers are at 95.
The Brewers are 6.5. So I think if the Cubs lose, which they're down 1-0, the Brewers clinch the Central, and they have a 3-game lead on the Phillies for the 1 seed. So this elongated the Brewers season a little bit, losing this series.
And it makes you wonder if the Brewers are going to benefit from having a bye in the first round of the postseason. So many teams talk about it. The Atlanta Braves a few years ago complained about not getting to play against a scheduled opponent in that first round. And it certainly is something that can wear on you, but the Brewers come out to play regardless. Now, I want to get to one of our newer features here on the Card Central post-game show. It's our money moment of the game. This came from Ivan Herrera, his 17th home run of the year in the bottom of the third. They had Ollie Marmol on the headset, and he loved to react to that. Quick moment to talk about the money moment of the game. It's brought to you by Home Bank, the team behind our team at STL Sports Central. Visit myhomebank.com or call 855-577-2001. So Ivan Herrera, 17 home runs this year. Mind you, he's been injured, and the news coming out about him this offseason is they're planning on retooling him to become a catcher in 2026.
Yeah, I think that for the Cardinals, the best case scenario is that Ivan Herrera can be a serviceable catcher. Because even when he was catching at the beginning of the season, I know he got banged up a little bit. I don't think those were really because his catching. He was still hitting the ball very well. So all of a sudden you get a guy that hits like he can and is serviceable behind the plate. That's a huge boost because the Redbirds are still looking for that guy. I don't know. Crooks isn't it. Pages isn't it. They're trying to figure out who the catcher of the future is right now.
Yeah, and you certainly have more in the pipeline as well with Rainiel Rodriguez and Leonardo Bernal, 2 major catching prospects for St. Louis. And I think the jury's out on what Jimmy Crooks is. It's a small sample size. Pedro Pages has really started to swing the stick a whole lot better over the past few weeks. So you know that he can, at the very least, be a serviceable backup and defensive-oriented catcher. Talk a little bit about the pitching here, Grant. Matthew Liberatore, not sure, this won't be his final start of the year, but he gets the win. 5 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, only 1 walk and 6 strikeouts, 4.21 ERA. I don't think he's going to lower it below a 4 this year, but I think he's had a very good season for the Cardinals by and large.
Yeah, I think that we saw probably, June through even the beginning of August, he struggled. We were worried maybe his arm was getting tired, dead arm could have been impacting him. But really in his last 3 or 4 starts, Stephen, he's really turned it on a little bit. And I think I don't think he was ever trending to a place where people were worried about maybe him being in the lineup or not, or starting rotation or not next year. But he's definitely solidified his spot with his last few starts. That, okay, this guy was just going through a tough patch. That's not who he is.
I agree. I agree with that point. And again, getting as big of a look, as long of a look as you can get
Yeah.
on Matthew Liberatore is going to pay dividends for the Cardinals, who have to figure out that starting rotation going into next year. I want to get to some of these comments here. One of them regarding Nolan Arenado from Allison. Do you think they should have let Arenado play a bit? Grant, I'm curious on your thoughts on this. Just coming off of injury, is this a good way to honor him, or would you have rather seen him out on the diamond one last time?
It makes sense, but I thought maybe they give him an at bat or two, kind of like with Pujols and Yachty. Obviously, not to the same extent, but give him an at bat or two. Maybe he gets a hit, and you take him off after getting a hit. But maybe Ali discussed this with them, and this is what he wanted. I don't know, but either way, very classy move by the organization and the fans to recognize Nolan Arenado as the recognition he should get.
Well, personally, I found it very fitting considering the strong suit of Nolan Arenado's game. We know he, in his day, was one of the more prolific offensive third basemen in the game, but it may have been more impactful to have him standing over at the hot corner one more time at Busch Stadium. All the tremendous plays he made there, the gold gloves, the platinum gloves, just being the best defender in all of baseball, arguably, at his position. It felt to me very fitting to have him go out there one more time, even more so than him getting a couple more swings.
Yeah, and that's what I thought too with what his glove has been. And Stefan, the thing is, I think there's a non-zero chance that he's playing third base again for the Cardinals next year.
Right. And this is all hypothetical, right? Assuming the Cardinals offload him and they move it forward. I don't think you make as big of a show of this if you aren't at least planning to offload Nolan Arenado. We know that that was part of the game plan going into this season. They just couldn't find a trade partner, someone that would take on that much of the contract. I'm not sure how they're going to assess that. But having Nolan Arenado there this season, especially from a defensive standpoint, was a net positive for St.
Yeah.
Louis rather than a negative.
Yeah, I mean, Nolan Arenado out there in general was a net positive. I know his bat wasn't great, but him at third base, he was one of the best defensive third basemen. And there was a point through that first half where people thought he was a Gold Glove favorite to get at third base. Obviously, he got banged up, and that won't happen. But I mean, a full season, he might be the Gold Glove winner again.
He might just be. And we were discussing this midway through the season. He looked as good as he's ever looked at third base for a team that really needed a sharp defensive third baseman. It was a little bit touch and feel there with Nolan Gorman coming in. He has started to gain a better grasp of the position, but with that, the bat has started to teeter off a bit. So 6 games left for St. Louis before we get into another reminder for our fans. What are some positives that you can take away? What do the Cardinals need to do to close the book and make it not necessarily a all-around positive season, but leave you with a good taste in your mouth for 2026?
I think one more decent rotation, run through the rotation, especially the guys that you know will be back next year. Maybe if Palante could look good again, Liberatore look good, just those type of guys. Sonny Gray, obviously. Michaelis, I mean, he's not going to be back, so I want to see him have one more good start as a Cardinal, but kind of irrelevant either way for next year. A good run through the rotation and the bullpen continue to show out. That's what I think is another 4 innings of shutout baseball for the bullpen, only giving up 2 hits. I think those 2 things, just decent pitching, would leave a nice taste in my mouth going into the offseason.
I love all of those points there, Grant. Interestingly, today, the man that gave up the most runs for the Brewers, Eric Fetty, over 4 innings, he gave up 3 runs. Not a horrible pitching performance, but certainly had his fair share of struggles. And it was something that Cardinals fans have gotten to know all too well in 2025. A little bit nicer to be on the giving end rather than the receiving end.
Yeah, a lot nicer to be on it. Too bad. It would have been more interesting, I think, if Fetty got the start. I think you would have had a lot of Cardinals fans tuned in at from the get-go if Fetty would have started this one.
So the Brewers will have a wealth of options for who will be in their rotation for the postseason. They've already clinched postseason berth. They are very close to clinching the division. We've just received news that the Cubs lost with runners aboard in the 9th inning. 1-0, the Reds win. So they are tied for 3rd place. Not sure what the head-to-head looks like between the Reds and the Mets, but the Mets are in an absolute free fall. If the D-backs can hang on against the Phillies, they will be 1 game back of the Reds and the Mets. So we'll touch on that a little bit later on, Grant. Quick reminder, Missouri, get ready. The wait is almost over. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is coming soon to the Show Me State, and you can sign up today. New Missouri customers can get $300 in bonus bets when we launch on December 1st. Download now and place a $5 bet when we go live. DraftKings Sportsbook brings everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning-fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. When we do officially go live in Missouri, you'll be betting with a sportsbook app trusted by millions. Safe, secure, and has fast money withdrawals. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code STL Sports to grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when we go live December 1st. That's code STL Sports in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. So we've touched on the Cardinals taking 2 out of 3 against the Brewers, touched on Eric Fetty, Nolan Arenado, Ivan Herrera. Now let's finish up discussing the final 2 road series of the year. The Cardinals will take a long flight to San Francisco and face off against the Giants, who've sort of had their postseason hopes, I wouldn't say destroyed, but the Dodgers have put them a little bit out of reach. Tomorrow is game number 1. It's going to be Michael McGreevy against Justin Verlander. How about that? McGreevy, the young buck, versus Verlander, who's really turned his season around. 3.75 ERA. Not the farewell for Verlander. He looks like he can still continue to pitch. It seems like he wants to. But how about the years from Clayton Kershaw and Justin Verlander? They have been just as good as ever in really years where they should be twilights of themselves.
Yeah, and I think with Kershaw, I mean, I know that this was they gave him the farewell, his final home regular season start, but I would be shocked if he doesn't maybe not start, but an appearance in the postseason at home or at some point for this Dodgers team. I mean, he's still got it. Verlander, who it looked like, oh no, why'd he come back? He needs to hang it up. He might be pitching himself into getting another 1-year contract somewhere. So it's going to be really fun to see Michael McGreevy try to outduel the Hall of Famer, one of the greatest pitchers to ever do it. So that's a real cool opportunity for McGreevy.
Is Verlander going to be in a Cardinals uniform next year? Will he be the older veteran presence to teach up some of these young bucks? That's obviously all in jest. We'll see how the Cardinals play that, but it's going to be a fun series. It's a beautiful ballpark in San Francisco, right on the bay. Hopefully we'll see somebody just rip one into right field, into the bay, and get a little bit of confidence from that. Now, you've got the Cubs after that. The Cardinals, as it currently sits, let's just take a look at the standings. The Cardinals, I believe, are 4 games back of the wild card. I'm not even really going to try to play devil's advocate, but how much fun would it be if those games meant something at Wrigley Field for St. Louis?
It just would be fun if they were like 2 back right now. It still would be a long shot. But if you were just 2 back, now it is if you got to somehow you gained a game. Let's say you sweep the Giants and the Mets and Reds both lose 2, and you're 2 back. That'd be pretty exciting. Last 3 games, just to have something to play for, something to look forward to for Cardinals fans. But Stefan, looking at it now, this is on ESPN, not official. They have the Reds and Mets at 80 and 76 each, and the Reds holding that 3rd wild card spot. Now, I don't know if that's official. I don't know if ESPN has the tiebreaker right, but that's what it says here on ESPN's standings.
Well, let's use these magic computer boxes that we have. The Mets won the first series 2-1 in New York. The Reds won the second series 2-1 in Cincinnati. And then I guess the Reds, well, they said that the Reds have played them. Well, okay. No. So the Mets have won 3 games and the Reds have won 3 games. I guess, does it go to run differential at that point?
I don't know what the MLB, I don't know what the tiebreaker is anymore. We should just have game 163. I think that would make everything a lot simpler and more fun.
Yes, game 163 at the Great American Small Park. Can you imagine that? Ellie De La Cruz versus Juan Soto. You throw out probably, I don't know. Right now, it's probably one of the young 3 pitchers for the Mets, McLean, Tong, or Sproat, you could throw any of those three guys. And then for the Reds, it's got to be the lefty.
So it says the tiebreaker is your division record. So the Reds must have a better division record than the Mets, and that's the tiebreaker right now.
Wow. Well, that's very good to know, Grant. And don't sleep on the Snakes. Obviously, I have a very special place in my heart for Arizona. Hopefully, they can pull it out and make things interesting, and then we'll have a 3-team race down the stretch. The Giants are 3.5 games out, so they're kind of out of it. They're on the outside looking in like the Cardinals are. But doesn't mean that they won't play hard as well. Well, Grant, we've got an 8:45 Central start tomorrow, Verlander versus McGreevy. Not a whole lot more we can talk about. The Cardinals take their final home series of the year. They won their first home series of the year, sweeping the Twins, so that at least they, on bookend occasions, started and finished well at Busch Stadium. You have any final thoughts heading into the final 6 games of the year?
It'd be fun if you could just, if like you said, if that Cubs series you had some life in, that would make things a little exciting. Just all of a sudden you're scoreboard watching, maybe the Reds and Mets lose, and you get to the next day after a victory and you're still alive. Because I think if you told Cardinals fans the last series of the season you had a chance for a playoff spot, you weren't mathematically eliminated, I think they all would have taken that.
I agree. And I'm excited regardless to see one of the best rivalries in baseball, even if there are no playoff implications for St. Louis. So thank you so much for tuning in to our post-game show brought to you by Home Bank, STL Sports Central, and all of its content is provided by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Remember to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll bring tons of coverage for the Cardinals and all other sports in the area. For Grant Salzman, I'm Stephen Carey signing off. Enjoy your Sunday as the Cardinals take care of the Brewers 5-1.